for so long. How's Variety gonna handle? Variety's played this game long enough that he's played against tier as Hercules 1,000 times at this point. Yeah. And I don't think he's gonna be too worried about it. He'll know what kind of pressure to expect. Hunbatz, we know already, kind of like you had said, matches the farm pace of the Kings. Likes to play it a little slower, hang out. With a slower early game, farm up in the jungle, maybe show your face every now and then, but I don't expect crazy ganks from him unless things are just absolutely popping off in like duo, right? With Aurora on the Afro. It might be easy to find a kill over there, especially if you throw your jungler, right? Still has some of the buffs that we saw in the 10-3 changes. A couple of nerfs that go her way to make it a little more difficult to be as just overwhelmingly powerful as she was that patch. But you're also still a mage early game, and so you still have plenty of capabilities, I think, to just send your jungler over there.
Yep.
Smack the health bar down until it's gone.
I'm really excited for the solo lane matchup in this one. You mentioned the tier. Hercules as well, both masters of disruption. And I think between Variety and Baskin, they are two players who are masters of disruption. And so expectations for me at an all-time high between these two solo laners. Something the carries are going to have to keep in mind. But Gore, it could be difficult to get onto this Agni. We just saw Benny Q deal 50k damage, something like that, because he was able to sit back, rain down fire and damage. Paul, on the other hand, is going to be getting in it.
Yep.
He'll be forward. He'll be fighting. And that's unavoidable.
Yeah, here's the blink. Paul is invested in fights, invested in aggression. Downside, literally anytime before level 12, if there's a Fear No Evil, Hercules rotation, hell, Justin, Agni stun, pretty much any of the standard that you would expect from the mid 3v3 for the Kings, that could literally just be a death for Paul. You've got your ult. You really don't want to use it as a disengage, though.
Sino gets dashed on by BMT. Paul's going to rotate out of mid, blinks forward. But Twig just has enough damage. Does Paul? Doesn't have beads and a dash away from big man Tings. Keeps him alive. Knock up from Paul onto Twig. But just around the corner is a double. And what a start from the Camelot Kings. And their jungler 2-0 on the Hunbats.
Look, man, you go Blink Hebo as a start, one of two things is happening. You're getting the double kill or you're getting double killed, right? It's just there's no real other way to shake it. It's very cut and dry. Unfortunately for Paul, he fell on the other side. The minute he blinks forward, especially after Sino, that last hit, you know, he's going in for a save, going in for a knock-up. But once that last auto connects, if you look at Sino's health bar, there's nothing Paul can do now to disengage in a way that is going to be or feel realistic, right? I mean, maybe you can run just straight back through your jungle, but you get good CC immediately from Tings. That's very easily accessible. You don't even need the Fear No Evil at this point. And without his ult, Paul has no CC immunity. I mean, that might have been one of the freest stuns that Tings has ever seen in his career. And then you just dash away if you're Tings. You throw out the Flame Wave for some extra damage. And then you leave the rest up to Twig because of the low health bars. It does get a little precarious there, right? If Paul has a little more mana or his cooldowns were maybe slightly faster, probably could have cycled that around, returned to kill onto Twig instead, but as we saw, it's a double kill for the jungler, probably one of the worst ways for you to start off this game. Not only do you and your jungler go down, but now Twig has 2 kills. Admittedly, falls behind a little bit in farm. Should hit 5 off this green buff, and will, but he is not worried right now, I think, about his experience. I think you've got the Fear No Evil. You've got your team in a really good spot. And with the first blood bounty, especially off of double kill, you really got a really comfortable, I don't want to say snowball yet, but something akin to it. I guess you've made the snowball. Now it's whether or not you can get it rolling.
Right, it's a block of ice right now. You can add some snow to it. A couple good targets as well. You got Blink on Sino, Blink on Paul. No beads for Aurora either. No beads for Baskin. That said, there is CC immunity and disruption in some of those kits. So some of that Fear No Evil will be avoidable. But this is an angle of the game that Twig often talks about, where we talk about him as a facilitator, and he is, but also likes his ability to carry and really play aggressively on these jungle picks. I think Hunbats has that opportunity.
And really what I need to see out of Twig, Because I feel like the conversation, and maybe we'll have to hold that thought, because he's actually going to get a little aggressive on Baskin, so Sino's here.
We get shoved aside. The Fear No Evil comes out, and Variety's got damage for Sino. And Sentinel of Zeus slows down Variety. Darkest of Nights in from Cyclone Spin. And the Styx Ferrymen able to strike Paydirt for the first time this game. It's the complete opposite of what we saw earlier on. It's just misplaced aggression from the Camelot Kings, maybe over-aggression, not realizing they wouldn't quite have the damage, and that's a kill over to Baskin.
Yeah, Twig jumps out of there pretty quickly, right? He says, you know what? This is not working out for us. We got to get out, disengage. It's 2 warriors that you're lining up against there. Much harder to kill than Paul would be early on. Kind of surprised to see him go and maybe commit as heavily. Once the Fear No Evil is dropped, I understand, using it for the disengage. Variety maybe moving forward. Just like you said, a little overconfidence, thinking they had more damage than they did, and not being able to get the appropriate lockdown. The conversation, at least where I was looking, though, associated with Twig, was really in mid, mainly because I thought the minute Aurora rotates, right? Cyclone's got beads. They are playing, the Ferryman that is, for Aurora to be the beads until level 12 for Paul. Assuming that he rotates over relatively soon, maybe he doesn't, and they just don't play in a style that maybe befits that, but I want to see Twig getting active on someone who is a little easier to kill off than someone like Baskin or Sino. Both of those have really good mobility. Both of them have really good CC to peel for themselves. And so it's just way more awkward to try and isolate either of those warriors. Paul's got Crushing Wave, and admittedly a lot of damage, right? That's one of the things Hebo brings. But if you set that up in front of an Agni, it should be a very easy CC chain, early on that is, before there's any beads. Before level 12, so you've only got 3 more to work with. And that's going to be maybe where you can find the most pressure if you're looking for kills. We've also seen that the Kings don't care about kills half the time, right? I mean, it could be 5-0 in favor of the Ferrymen in terms of kills, and sometimes they'll still be behind in gold because of the way the Kings play the map.
Yep. Right now, though, things stabilizing. It's really up to these junglers, but Captain Twig, the Transcendence, he'll need a bit more time to stack things up. Sino's already been a bit aggressive in an early moment of this game, and we will take a breather. And Core, we needed one. We were at a breakneck pace in the first 7 minutes of Game 1, so I'm glad we can take a moment and sit back and really recuperate ourselves after after everything we've seen so far. I joke, but a bit expected.
I don't know, man. My heart rate finally, it's settling down.
Finally taking a breather. I'm really excited to see what Paul's going to get done this game. I think that Hebo, in my opinion, just carries such a potential with it. And later in the game, that playmaking style, knock-up, water hands, crushing wave, Paul, I think all that combines for what could be really exciting late game.
And one of the last times we saw a Hebo against this Kings draft, it was Pagon playing it, the Warriors during the kickoff. Got a lot of 2-3-man ults, which, when you're looking at stuff like that, that is definitely something you need, I think, to be a little more stressed about. If you're the Kings, probably not lining up for a lot of those. Maybe a little more wiggle room. The wards, though, what you can see right now, there's 1 red ward sitting on the left side mid camps and then 2 on the entrance to the mid lane on right. He sees Twig right now, and those are just so valuable. I mean, that is absolutely, I would argue, necessary at this point just to make sure that you can stay alive before you get beats.
Variety leapt on by Sino. How much danger is the Hercules in? A lot, but the dash away enough. And Sino's got damage, but takes a little while on the other side of the map. It's Captain Twig getting one onto Paul. Crushing Wave is still up. Paul maybe just a bit caught off guard. I see a River's Rebuke down.
Yeah.
And I see a dead Hebo. So I think line's pretty clear there, Goremizer. Both junglers making their impact on the map, but it is a killing spree now for Twig at the 8-minute mark.
More important to me, Twig still has ult. And with that kill, not only do you get Tings even further ahead, you just make sure that you're not getting any closer to those beads, right? And so, if you're Twig, this may be about as cut and dry as you could get with it. Like you said, with River's Rebuke down, a nice little pullback. That Riptide actually is really what opens up that door. Paul has been very, very clean with hanging out under the tower. And then he just comes back to lane
there
and
you
does
go.
that, man.
Well, Paul finds a way to get it done, but is he in trouble now? Should be. Twig, fourth of the game, all four on the Camelot Kings jungler. 3 of them laying at the feet of Paul, who drops to 1 and 3 after that death over in mid. And that's the threat. I mean, because it is a mage, right? Hebo is, but it has the threat to do the assassin sudden burst, destroy you thing. It's not often you get to see moments like that. And that's what I'm talking about when you talk about potential for a pick like this. Paul is apparently already there with Deso and a couple tiers of what we've been seeing. Tahuti, usually second item. Intrigued to see how this Jabalanque continues to scale, though, Gore, because not an often seen AD carry pick. Can provide some really good utility in team fights.
And another thing to pay attention to with Cyclone Spin, 2 assists, right? If you hit that ult and they get a kill, it doesn't matter if you're there, you're going to get the assist for it, so it's going to open up a lot, I think, of farm that otherwise you just wouldn't have.
Genetics considering a chase down on the Cyclone Spin. Worth noting, Aurora, early upgrade, turns the shell into the Phantom Shell. So you'll have that for the River's Rebuke, and you're going to have great defensive utility with the Undying Love. And so Aurora is in a pretty strong spot right now as far as what he's providing to his team. We've seen a lot of this build from Umojas as well, what Genetics is going for. Thebes into the Lotus Sickle. Obviously going to be healing your team up a decent bit. Could be one more fight around the corner. Twig's in a decent spot, gets the tier 2 Hydras. And at 4-0. Would love to continue to run at fights, I believe. Yes, indeed. Able to upgrade to the full-on Hydras. We've already seen plenty of activity, Gore, from this Hunbats, but now a good 2-item power spike between Hydras and the fully stacked Transcendence. Should be a good opportunity for the King's jungler to continue making his mark.
I feel the pressure right now from the Kings. All right, Ghost should really just say lack thereof, right? I don't think they have any pressure on them.
No, they're hanging.
They have a comp that scales really well in the late. So do the Ferrymen. Now that Paul has a roar, that avenue is pretty much closed, right? The River's Rebuke was maybe the other opener, but like you mentioned, the Phantom Shell exists. You might not have beads yet, but you've got Undying Love, and there's no way Aurora is going to drop that unless it is necessary. And more than likely using it for Paul more often than for himself. And so that's going to get Paul to 12, get the beads online. Presumably get the Ferryman into a position where there's not going to be as many picks overall. And they kind of traded it. I mean, the 1 kill in mid, that was actually kind of massive for Paul, mainly because he was falling, pretty heavily behind. I think it was almost 2 full levels behind Big Man Tings. Now he's definitely a lot closer, just ticks over to 12. Tings has been 13 for a little bit. But the investment from the Ferryman has been a lot in the variety. And I had said this on the desk with you earlier, but like variety's on Hercules. Once he gets a few items online, he's going to be super tanky. He went for the Golden Blade start, which is why it was so much easier to try and gank him and cause a lot of trouble. It's why Baskin is able to control that lane a little better. Tiers clear. Just going to be better than a Hercules with a Golden Blade. But then as the game goes on, he's going to still be just as tanky.
Gold Fury to the Camelot Kings. Will the Ferrymen get the Pyro? Yes, they will. The Excavate was well timed by Variety, but just a bit early. Won't steal away the objective. So go objective for objective, but the Gold Fury feeling good for the Camelot Kings. They've got quick burn. And that seems like just an active choice from the Styx Ferrymen. Sensing the Camelot Kings are over on the left side of the map, not loving the odds of sending pressure all the way over there, and they'll at least pick up something. Basket has done a really nice job shoving down Solo Lane. He's got a 2-level lead over Variety right now, and has added a tier 1 tower. Worth noting that Baskin has gone Transcendence second item.
He did that yesterday. I should have asked him about it.
So needs some time to stack things up. Well, if the Styx Ferrymen win, and it happens to be Baskin that we're interviewing, might be able to ask him about it live on air, though. That is a small target to hit. It's got to be them winning, and he's got to be the player that we choose. But might slow down your power spike a bit, but
yeah,
if you see what Tier does good damage anyway, right? But now you're going to be jumping into the back line plus Transcendence.
It's such a good stat stick, right? The only thing, like you said, is that it slows you down a little. I don't think he cares. I mean, mid-game, like, what are they looking for right now? With both of the big neutral objectives down and one going their way, he's more than fine. I mean, you only need 19 more stacks. That's going to be pretty easy to scoop up in lane. And so I like it a little more. On the Guan Yu, I think it caught me off guard. It still catches me a little off guard. It's not something I'm used to seeing on tier. But he's going to hit so hard with those Fearless Chains.
Cyclone is in a lot of trouble right now. Uses the Aegis. Actually dashes away. Got to be chased down here, though. Sure is. Yark, his first of the game. Unfortunate for Cyclone Spin. Sticks around as the tier 1 tower crumbles. And the rest of the Camelot Kings, everyone but Variety, made their way left. How much trouble is Variety in? Because we've seen this play now a couple of times. Heals himself up. And Sino goes up and over. Now I imagine we're just going to see a chase down on the other side of the map. Variety does not have his dash. Baskin shoves him aside. And the Styx Ferrymen able to answer back. This is a very unique game, Gore. There's a lot of individual picks, but not a whole lot of actual fighting that's going on. And yet we've seen plenty of towers get dropped, seen a couple of objectives, and in fact a tier 2 whittled down by the Camelot Kings duo lane.
As weird as it feels to say it, because if you look at the map, and honestly, even if you look like at the gold, the kills, like everything feels super even. I feel like things are still leaning slightly in favor of the Kings with time going the way it is. We haven't seen a full team fight yet,
It's just the pace.
But yeah, it's the way they play the game, and realistically, it's because like again, where a majority of their kills are. The Kings shut down Paul earlier, still have a decent lead, about a level and a half there for Tings. The Ferrymen are shutting down Variety. Variety still finishes that Genji's guard just now. Like, you know, 2 levels down off of Baskin means he's going to have maybe slightly less of an impact, but he's right in there with everybody else on the team. And so maybe a little squishier than he'd like to be, but he's still picking up the tank items. He's still going to hit the point where late game he's a Hercules. And if they're playing at this pace, that's going to fall right into the laps that the Kings love to play. He's still 4-0 if you're Twig here. You've been farming really well. Your itemization, while different, you know, we saw Sino build this kind of stuff yesterday, right? The Erendite, a lot of chase down on a god that has a massive slow.
Yep.
But then you look towards the other side, and, well, you've got a lot of damage that's going to be coming from Twig. A lot of damage that's going to be matched by Tings. In fact, surpassed, I would assume, by Tings. And you also have 2 Sunders online as well to help deal with Sino's shielding. So a lot of that, hey, I'm going to get back there, slow him, and just survive forever while the rest of you catch up. It's just not going to work here, and I think that there's going to be a lot of burn potential that the Kings have.
There you go.
And the way that they're playing this game, man, again, the pace it's fallen right into their wheelhouse.
Saving grace for the Styx Ferrymen. Baskin has been a farm machine. 2 levels up of Variety, level 17. The not good news for the Styx Ferrymen. You'd say the same for Big Man Tings. Also level 17, also 2 levels up from Paul. And about 1,000 gold or so, maybe even a little bit more. Despite Paul having the 1 kill, most of that pressure from Captain Twig early in this game has found its way into the Hebo. That said, builds mirrored over in the mid lane, but Aegis on one side instead of the blink on the other for Paul. This will be a pretty telling moment, though, I think, Gore. With the Oni Fury looked at by the Kings, we know that they're going to pull it the moment they feel like they've got an opening. So should the Styx Ferrymen step up and fight, really likely change how the next 5-10 minutes of this game look. I'm just waiting for Big Man Tings really to open up with some poke damage. He has farmed up so well, as I've mentioned, and highest level in the game by 1 over Baskin, but by 2 or 3 over everyone else. Agni and T are going to be carrying a lot of expectations going into the next fight. Baskin avoids the stun. Genetics, though, with a beautiful Riptide back. Keeps Baskin in place. What's Variety looking for? Could get a push onto an unsuspecting member of the Styx Ferrymen. For now, that's a Roar, who has to sidestep the Riptide. My goodness, there's simply too much space control from the Kings. Luckily, a Roar, only the 5 stacks on the Prophetic, still tanky enough with a fully stacked Thebes. Ended up not being that big of a commitment onto the Styx Ferrymen.
A lot of pings. I expected maybe more from the Kings. A lot that was immediately onto the tier 2. And you can see, or sorry, the tier 1, Twig, putting some pressure onto that, trying to open that up. It's that awkward moment where you really are at the time that starting a Fire Giant could exist, but you're the Kings. We've seen the Kings play. We know they're not going to go for it unless they're able to win a fight just prior. This might end up biting them, though. They've got a very heavy rotation on right. Look at the Ferrymen. They immediately make the call for the Yoni Fury. Yoni Fury is good across all 3 lanes.
That's surprising.
Normally it's the Kings making plays like that.
Yeah, feels a bit different. Kings were looking for a pick, ended up dropping it. And that's the only Fury for the Styx Ferrymen. Again, that just keeps the game right where it's at. I was wondering if we were going to get a Captain Twig snowball moment, right? Started the game off 4-0. That was about 10 minutes ago. Still 4-0, 10 minutes later. I was wondering if his Hunbats would just start to shove pressure. Sent a little bit over towards Solo, didn't get a kill on a Baskin. In fact, it's Variety who was largely shut down by the Styx Ferrymen and Sino. Does seem like we're starting to loom, or really make our way towards what could be big team fight. Aurora avoids the Riptide but gets pulled back either way. Undying Love used. So early advantage to the Camelot Kings, just some of that spatial CC, getting a big ultimate off the board. Baskin, a necessary target. Will get popped by the Excavate, but a couple hundred HP between him and death.
Variety, I felt like maybe wanted more. Unfortunately, knowing Cyclone's just around the corner makes him rethink a lot. And so that's not going to be a fight on the Baskin. Still a TKO. Should be able to pull out the teleport here. I can't think of a reason Baskin wouldn't want to try and go in and get this beautiful line into that.
What happened to Yark? Yark had no HP, and then suddenly Sino jumps in. Now this is a bad moment for the Camelot Kings. Their carries. One is already gone. Big Man Tings is down to half. And the Ferrymen sense some blood, surging forward down the right side of the map. Captain Twig never found his opening. Still has Fear No Evil. A lot of grouped up members of the Styx Ferrymen. Is this an immediate FG pull? Maybe should be. Yark off the map for 15 more seconds.
Yeah, but Variety, Genetics are here. Twig's still in the neighborhood. If they're doing this, they're going to, I mean, you have to think, yeah, pull someone in, get another kill to make sure that you can guarantee it.
Variety, he'll send out an Excavate, but he was far too early to really contest for the actual Fire Giant. The Styx Ferrymen delayed it. Baskin zoning out behind, but the Styx Ferrymen now going to drop the objective. Camelot Kings will not just pick it back up. Tings chunks down Baskin. But Tings is all on his own. Nobody else from the Kings got the memo.
Yeah.
This is such an awkward game. Conveyor belt status from the Camelot Kings. And once again, the Ferrymen will reset. Whoa. The Kings realize it, though. The Styx Ferrymen reset. The Camelot Kings immediately pull the Fire Giant. The Kings have a Runic Bomb, but a teleport gets channeled, and it's not Variety. Because Variety is just now respawned. Is a Runic Bomb going to get used in time? Captain Twig has got it. Paul is in behind. And the Kings get FG.
I love that so much.
Paul right into the Fear No Evil. Searching for a kill to just bring something from this objective back. Yark dies, dies again. But the Kings sweep the FG on a miraculous instant call when the Ferrymen reset.
Look, I wanted to call it out because like you, I was just like, okay, Tings, you walked up, you hit Baskin a little bit, and you died. There's not really much you got out of that. But that play gets enough damage spread out. There's low health bars on the Ferrymen. They can't fight despite having the numbers advantage. And now look, they're even losing a little bit of the fight on the Tier 1 or Tier 2. Sino, he gets out of that one alive. They're not going to get any of the stuns. They protect the base, though. It's that TKO and immediately recognizing with Hardcore in the jungle, running up to them. Like, that's the key. That's the crucial key alongside Twig having ult. That really enables that. You know Baskin has to back, and you know that you and catch the others on their back. It's a split-second decision. If they hesitate even 1 second longer than the Ferrymen are there for the fight, that's great by the Kings to make that call. It might end up being a little bit of a nothing Fire Giant, right? You're looking at the map state, 3 Tier 2s up for the Ferrymen. I don't think that's going to change too heavily. They've got a minute and a half on the power play, so maybe. But they are going to be able to get a lot of map clearage with it. Maybe even force a fight. Now Hardcore is backed up. And they're finally a 5-man squad again. Of course, I say that right after Hardcore backs all the way to base, so it might not be the full 5-on-5. There's nothing to fight for over here. And I like the reset from the Kings. Well played from them. And I think despite how wrong things were going in some of those fights, they not only make it work out for them, they actually even turn it into an advancement.
That's the difficulty of playing against the Camelot Kings, that you cannot be asleep for even a moment. This is a team, whether it's pulling objectives like we just saw with the Fire Giant, and it's an instant call. It's an in-the-moment instant call where the Styx Ferrymen reset, thinking they'll go back, spend up some gold. No way the Kings pull this. Kings say, we've got a Runic Bomb and we've got just enough damage. And clearing that ward that Baskin was teleporting to was vitally important. Would have made life really difficult. It's got another 30 seconds or so with the Fire Giant buff. Variety hunting, fishing for a pick onto the Styx Ferrymen that would soften up this defense. Way behind a few members of the Kings is Baskin. He'll rejoin the rest of his team, hopefully. Bit of poke damage out of Big Man Tings and Captain Twig. Got anti-heal in both of those kits. That'll be helpful, particularly for the Aphrodite. And this is where this Agni damage score can really start to stack up.
Yeah.
Has Mirrodin let those ultimates fly. Good flat pen, percent pen, just about everything you want. Upgraded starter item as well. Watch out for the burst. Admittedly surprising that Tings is only halfway up the player damage charts, because I feel like I've seen some chunky burst already.
Yeah.
But I imagine that that'll change here in the next few minutes.
It's been really good effective damage. We just haven't seen it, well, I guess, turn into kills immediately. It hasn't necessarily gotten him a lot of numbers because of that. I feel like he's probably one of in this game, he's an essential factor. And he's 0-2 and 4. I don't honestly, he could end 0-2 and 12. I don't know that he needs to get the kills to feel success, because what we're seeing out of him,
that's a personal thing.
Is yeah, well, it's a lot of damage, right? That's the thing I think that stands out the most. It's a ton of damage that he's going to be able to output in these fights. And while he might only be halfway up the charts, all he needs is like 2 big team fights, and suddenly he'll be up at the top. But you also are bringing, along with that damage and the pin that he's locked in, right, a lot of CC. I mean, if you don't beads the Agni stun, you're going to take follow-up damage. If you do, then good luck getting away from Twig or Variety. There's so much I think that the Kings have done to diversify their CC applicators. If you're trying to go immune for one, you better hope that Aurora chooses you to be immune for the next one, because they will lock you down if they're the Kings. And it will cause a little bit of trouble.
What was that? Am I crazy?
That was the Runic Bomb.
They always happen in such like scrappy fight moments that I've actually never heard the second before. I was like, what in the world is that? Okay, well, I'm glad your eyes caught it, because I was a slightly confused
Well, if
boy.
it makes you feel better, I'm more confused after knowing what it was.
Gore, would you buy something called a CC applicator off of like an infomercial at 2 in the morning? I think I would. When you said CC applicator, all I could think about.
You might have just made the next infomercial.
Yeah, it's how that's like a good.
Your CC applicator.
That's right, exactly.
Dial 1-800-CC. That's CEE. CEEE.
For the low, low price of.
With only 3 payments of $19.99.
Of your 2 key. Primal Fury. Pulled by the Camelot Kings, and no immediate answer by the Styx Ferrymen on the Fire Giant. Immediate answer might be Variety. Unsure if he's got his dash. In fact, it might not matter. Shoves Baskin aside. Gets some healing from Genetics. What a play from the Emoja. And the Styx Ferrymen, they spent a couple ultimates trying to chase down Variety. The River's Rebuke, you don't love that being down. In the meantime, Big Man Ting shoving down mid. Left side tier 2 tower is going to get worked on as well. It's only Genetics in the Fire Giant pit with the Styx Ferrymen, but the Kings are unconcerned. The Ferrymen have to get this FG. They do with the Runic Bomb. Cyclone Spin as a kill
Phoenix,
onto Genetics as well. And it's a 4-man grouping, 3-man rather, from the Kings around the left side. Bird, it has taken down an active choice in the moment from the Camelot Kings to give up the Fire Giant. Gonna lose Variety. This time it is a kill. 0-5 on the Hercules, but a left side Phoenix has been picked up. Twig is gonna be off on his own as well. He might faceplant right into Paul and Aurora. But like ships passing in the night, end up just swapping sides.
You can see Paul. Oh, he wanted it there. Looking around for a little bit, unable to find him. They are going to lose a little pressure, right? Fire Giant going the other way. Not enhanced, so it's a nice little opener. I don't think the Kings needed that buff. And as they showcase on the map, they did not. They have enough damage outside of that. They get 2 tier 2s out of it as well, plus that Phoenix, no Fire Giant buff for them. I mean, that's just really good map play. And now they're back up to defend. They might be able to get something done here, actually.
Variety 0-5, still dead.
Look at Twig.
Kings maybe used to that at this point. Fear no Evil, it's been used. Middle lane Phoenix should get taken down here. It has been just a brutal game for the front line of the Camelot Kings. 0-2 now for Genetics. Variety, as I've mentioned, 0-5. Ferryman with that FG able to finally cash in. For a moment you're thinking, wow, left side Phoenix, that's great for the Kings. You're not super worried about an early FG, but now you're starting to see some return on the investment of the Styx Ferrymen.
The Aphrodite's causing a little more trouble for Twig than maybe you would want, right? Paul has to use his beads there. That's actually a really good target for the CC now. But Aurora has just been on point. The other 2 pairs of beads that are up still available, and you both are able to immune that. I was thinking that Fear No Evil was going to be not just big setup, but really potentially a big win for them. Now they don't have that ult. Genetics still isn't up. This is going to be a really good aggression for the Ferrymen. Breaking into the base is always a little difficult, though, right? Agni's here to deal some damage. Sino goes in deep, though.
He does, and that really just shoves back the Camelot Kings. Big damage from Paul. Opens up the fight. Baskin's 5-0. And trying to keep that death column empty. It is not a double kill from Captain Twig. Again, it is the Hunbats calling the Camelot Kings back into this game. Baskin gets shut down as well. That's actually a massive spike for Twig, who's already full build. At this point, I don't know what all that extra gold is really going to be getting for the Hunbats. But an important moment to shove back the Styx Ferrymen. However, Fire Giant's going to be off in 15. And the big thing is that the Styx Ferrymen are able to get that left side bird.
Yeah, that's honestly, I don't want to call it a backbreaker. It's not quite that bad, especially while you still have some fire minions of your own fighting for the Kings. You know, the next minute is definitely going to be a little more stressful. You have, I actually think, just lined up the amount of fire minions you'll need to get you to the Fire Giant. If they wait too long, though, that's going to start skewing, right? You're going to have the Phoenix respawn for the Ferrymen. And it also feels like this next one isn't one that you can just, okay, we'll play the map and let it go, because it's going to be enhanced. It's going to be a lot easier for them to just walk into the Titan room and maybe go for a big play. It's some of the picks around the Fire Giant, some of the picks that we've seen. The Ferrymen just haven't been quite safe enough. I know Fury's going to do actually wonders here, though, right? You need some pressure in mid to help deal with some of the fire minions. It's close enough to FG that you can clear it up, but now those Oni minions, when they spawn, will help push back and hold their own against the fire minion wave for a little bit. And then an Oni fire wave on left, that should at least give you some pressure that you don't have to send someone back to defend. It will give you this opportunity to step up to the Ferrymen here.
Yep.
The problem is just going to be how this fight breaks out, right? Blinks are down, so Baskin, Sino, Paul maybe not starting anything. Beads are up, and that's going to be where some of the issues are. Roar has ult, and so if you're looking at it, Roar, if you just grab Baskin, honestly, you might not even need to. You're going to have the immunity.
Sino sends some damage in a slow towards big man Tings. Couple Sunders in the back pocket of the Camelot Kings. What's happened to Twig? He's being baskined right now. A River's Rebuke from Genetics, but this is defensive. Look at all of the team fighting ultimates that have been used in this fight with no kills. No Fear No Evil. No River's Rebuke. Wild Hunt on top of it as well. Sino. That Sentinel of Zeus, Darkest of Nights, those are the 2 big utility pieces. Both the Lawbringer from Basket. Fire Giant looked at, poked at, but not fully committed.
Well, they keep backs from happening. Look at Paul. I mean, his health bar's still low. They might have burn for Baskin as well, and that's the thing that's really opening. They just got a Roar's ult, and things like that really create more opportunities for him. CC is so great, and yeah, you called it the Oni minions. Oh, they're doing so good.
The Oni minions take the left side bird back down in the Styx Ferrymen base, and the Camelot Kings, in the meantime, have pulled and secured the Fire Giant.
Look at Hardcore.
Paul going eye for an eye, and the Camelot Kings kill off Variety for the 6th time, where Cyclone Spin now takes a tumble. Captain Twig hot in pursuit of Sino. Such an awkward fight. Fearful Evil just clips Sino, and it's an unstoppable Hun Batz, and it could be the first death. It is from Paul, who shut down Captain Twig after 7 kills. And Paul still something to say about this fight. Big man Tings knocked up, tossed aside, but no, Tings has the burst on the other side of the fight. This is such a messy engagement, and it's only Baskin left standing.
Oh, I thought Baskin was about to follow a Fire Minion wave into the Titan room and just try to go for something. No, he needs to stay back. They've got so much time to work with hardcore and genetics. You don't have any minions. You've got an EFG. This might not be a play to win the game. You can absolutely pick up a Phoenix here pretty easily. Unfortunately, your mid one respawns, dies instantly, but you've got EFG, so this is going to be an easy knockdown. All you have to do is be careful around Basket. Might even be able to get the right tier, too, if you want to, just the 2 of them, but they do need to reset at some point. So play the map a little carefully. You had called it, those minions, that Oni Fire Minion wave, put in so much work for them to get that left side Phoenix again, and now, I mean, you kind of swapped things around, right? Left side, mid, down for the Ferryman. You get your left side back up, and assuming Ting stays and clears this wave, you're going to feel pretty sure about that one existing for a little longer than just a few seconds. You do still lose mid if you're the Kings, which sucks, but at the end of the day, sometimes that's just how it's going to crumble, right? You've got to make a sacrifice for a win elsewhere. It's just, what else can you do with another minute of the power play? I don't know if they can get super aggressive without another big win. And you can't get caught out alone, so you really do have to maybe play patient reset. Especially if you're going to see this kind of grouping from the Ferrymen. There's no way. They're probably...
This is an Aurora type call.
And I think they want to make a play either for a kill or, if they hadn't just been caught out, maybe it would have been for the Phoenix.
3K pot in the hands of big man Tings, waiting to use it in this engagement. Kings 10,000 gold ahead, by the way, throughout all of the even fights and the back and forth that we've gotten. The Kings have been the ones really winning the farm and the objective play. Again, this is such an Aurora play.
It's caught on
Spin's
a ward,
bit
though.
behind.
Like
Yeah,
all
you should see a ping here. You should see a ping here in just a moment. Backs being channeled by the Styx Ferrymen. Surely they're not looking for an end, anything like that. No.
No, they were going to go to the Titan room if they didn't, if they thought there'd be no backs. But the minute they saw there were wards, I think that kind of made them realize.
I feel like we've seen an uncharacteristic amount of really like cool moments that we think something's about to happen.
And then
it fizzles out
happens.
in the last couple of days. I think we saw that with a Horus
How
yesterday.
just this game.
Right. I think it was a Horus yesterday that like ulted somewhere and it just sent the team like slightly to the left and didn't end up actually going into the fight, even though it looked like maybe that's exactly what was going on. No, we're going to wait. One more Fire Giant to respawn in 40. The Styx Ferryman side of the map significantly. Although significance may be an overstatement. Definitely worse for wear than the Camelot King side, but it's been such an interesting game here, Gore, because I'm not sure we've had full scrappy team fight yet around the FG. We've seen the Phoenix defenses, things like that. Great poke damage from big man Tings. Twig again has really been the one who's spearheading Camelot King's effort. Whereas Baskin has been 5-1 for a little while. Paul has really started to warm up though as well. And I get the feeling we've really reached that point where Aurora link with Paul is going to allow maybe something special to happen here for the Styx Ferryman.
Sano's trying to go for a massive loop around. Walks right across a ward. So
that one ward has done so well for the Camelot Kings. Spotted out 2 rotations. Sino on the Nike.
Yeah.
Full damage.
That ult can be massive though, right? Big, fat stun that you're just going to, not stun, slow, that you're going to drop onto everybody.
Feels like a stun sometimes.
I mean, sometimes you're just
moving so slow.
Trudging through mud and hoping for the best. Definitely something that could be an impact play. But now you've really entered the zone. They lose the left side Phoenix. That's gonna hurt.
Again?
The Fire Minions just get it. You can see they held onto it for a little bit. Mid, you're maybe gonna have to be a little more diligent about Fire Minions that are still marching down, still spawning up. That's gonna give the Kings a pretty huge advantage over here around the FG.
Styx Ferryman may have to fight for this one. The Fire Giant's going so quick. And it's the Kings who get the FG.
Tings is
Big
low.
man Tings, though, chased down by Sino, and it won't be enough. Captain Twig adds a kill. Sino was on a solo mission there. The Styx Ferrymen were caught somewhere between defending their base, defending the Fire Giant, and the good news for the Kings and fans of fast-paced sieges is that all 5 of the Kings are still alive with the Fire Giant, so there's no reason after a reset to slow things down.
And enhanced at this point. You know, Tings needed that back. Twig able to come back into this. You really just need hardcore and a tank. And that's exactly what they have. They're going to make a similar play, I feel like, to what they did earlier. Backs from the Ferrymen. Maybe make it a little too dangerous to go in with just the 2 of you. And so I think waiting here, patiently, keeping a little bit of vision, maybe trying to do a split, right? Mid-Phoenix is weakened. Pretty easy to just send a couple to one side, do exactly this. Get a bird, and then force a fight elsewhere.
Surprised.
No Rivers.
I mean, I'm way too aggressive of a player, I'll admit that, but Sino's still dead for 10 seconds. You got 2 Phoenixes down. Gotta imagine there's a world where you just walk in and deal the last bit of damage. You got a Runic Bomb. Drop it at the Phoenix line. But this is the Kings. They are much more patient. They like slowing things down. They get the right side Phoenix relatively easily.
Tings has no relics.
Yeah, good point.
They
Great
just got Rivers Rebuke back up. I think that's what they were waiting
you're
for,
right.
was maybe on the ultimate.
You're right. Waiting for the Rivers.
Try to get something going. I feel like the setup they have, like you said, it's really good, but now with Sino back, you have to worry about someone diving behind you. The good news is, well, you keep everyone tied up here in mid. You've got fire minions on left that are about to march into the tank room. You've got fire minions on right that are at the tier 2 line. There's a Rivers Rebuke, but it's not going to open up too much. They might just get this mid-Phoenix and then have to back off.
Sino
Oh my God!
Baskin! Oh, Big Man Tings! And goodbye, Baskin! My goodness, the Agni pops
Fear No
the
Evil.
solo laner. And the Fear No Evil from Captain Twig has done just about everything. Big Man Tings on a triple. A quad around the corner, but it's Yark who takes it, and the Kings surge at 40 minutes and take game 1.
Look, man, I can tell you what we've seen this year, what you can know about a Kings game. You see they're going to come in and play. They're going to out-farm you. Doesn't matter about the kills. Maybe they get some early kills, maybe they don't. That part doesn't matter. They're going to out-farm you. They're going to drag you to 40 minutes, and they're going to beat you. And